talking about this man named Jesus, as I said. Now I want to humbly submit, as I said to you, that I don't say these things with malice. I don't say these things out of disrespect. I don't say these things about him to you because he's actually dealt with me on a lot of this stuff, and I'm just telling you what he did. I'm not going to try to be a lawyer and convince you that this Jesus is real. I'm going to try to be a witness of what he's done in my life and the people that I know. Because that's all I have, is the words and what he's done. So if you look in the Gospel of Matthew, in the Gospel of Mark, in the Gospel of Luke, and the Gospel of John, there's a story of Jesus being arrested. There's an injustice that's been done because this Jesus hasn't done anything. Any other worldview that you look at, they will say that Jesus was a prophet and that he did nothing wrong, right? Historically, our time hinges on the event that he was crucified, BC and AD. Before Christ, after death. You can change it to Latin if you want to, or say before the Common Era if you want. The reality is, time is based around when he went to the tomb and when he came out of it. That's how our system is set up. So why did he do it? We're going to think about the context that Jesus was born into. Jesus was born into an oppressed state by the Roman Empire. The Jewish people paid 90% of their income in taxes. We argue about taxes in the United States. The Kingdom of Rome was a little bit different. If you think about Jesus, the reason that Jesus said, when somebody smacks you on the one cheek, turn your other cheek, he wasn't saying that because he wanted to show you, hey, guess what, I can be a peaceful man and turn my cheek and get hit again. That's not what he said. In Roman culture, what would happen very often is that a sword would be on a soldier's hip and he would backsmack an Israelite because he could. And so when Jesus is saying, turn your other cheek, he's actually asking you to turn your other cheek so that the dude can hit you with an open hand, hit you like a man, because that's what you are, a person equal to him, not something that's beneath him. Why should you take someone's cloak an extra mile? Because then they just might ask you who you are and where you come from, not just to do a job for them. We're talking about a Jesus that reacted instead of responded. They're different. Some of us, if somebody pushed us, we would push them back automatically, a reaction. Animals are really good, obviously this we study them in bio, stimuli, right? What's the reflex? Boom, that's what happens. But I don't think Jesus had a reflexive bone in his body besides the one that told him to love people when they hated him. So what do we do when we encounter injustice? Because he encountered injustice. In fact, he chose to step into injustice for us. Because the biggest injustice that exists is for us not to know the God who made us. The biggest injustice that exists is for a woman to walk up to a magazine stand and feel inferior because of all the covers that don't look like her. And the ones that do, they say, hey, lose 30 pounds and you'll be great. Do this in bed and he'll love you. Do this, get this shape, get this cosmopolitan, drink this thing, these 50 tips, and guess what? You'll be great. Color your hair this way. Get these contacts. Guys, don't get skinny jeans now because the big ones are going to come back, just so you know. If you just get those shoes, if you just get that belt buckle that used to be big, now they're back small again, if you could make your hat like a duckbill, no, flatten that thing out, then you'll be cool. It's going to change again. The reality is, every single one of you is beautifully and fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of a wonderful God. I didn't say that, Psalms did. Some of you feel guilty and ashamed and awkward and uncomfortable every time you enter a room where that person is there that you can't forgive. Or when you go home for the holidays, you don't want to go back for Christmas or New Year's or Diwali or whatever. You don't want to go back. Because you know the problems that await you. And I am humbly submitting to you that there is a God that is bigger than poverty that exists in Haiti or anywhere else, bigger than the problems that exist between the reconciliation that needs to happen between you and your family, bigger than the problems that you feel of being the only white person there, the only black person there, the only Indian person there, the only Asian person there, or you can't speak Spanish but your parents can. All of those things. God is bigger than that. And the love that he has for you transcends all the inferiority and things that you feel about yourself. Because the truth is, until you know that you are loved deeply, when you encounter things like sex trafficking, poverty, exploitation, 250,000 people dying because the earth shakes and people built shoddy buildings so the roofs just fell, You can't hit that with anger. Because no victim in Haiti wants to hear you be angry about what happened to them. They've experienced enough anger. They've experienced that. That happened with Moses when he experienced the Hebrews being oppressed. What did he do? He killed an Egyptian. And when he came back to the Israelites the next day, they responded and said, oh, you're going to do the same thing to us. Anger doesn't set people free. Talk about shame and guilt. Guilt breeds shame. Shame breeds condemnation. The reality is, Romans 8, chapter 1, there is no guilt, shame, or condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Shame and guilt is contrary. You go to Grand Central or get off at the 7 at Queensboro Plaza and try to feed somebody who needs something to eat. And if they ask you why you're there, you say, man, I just feel guilty because I have so much. That is so empowering to them. It's not. Obligation. We do a lot of things out of obligation. Let's say that because the rate of students on antidepressants is rising, the numbers in the Ivy League are up to 35%. People are taking things to make it through. And you hear these things and you go up to that suite mate that you have that you don't talk to, that person in your building that you know nobody looks at, that person in the lab that nobody speaks to, and you go up to them and you say, hi, how was your day? And they say, why do you care about me? You say, because I feel like I have to. There are a lot of people doing bad things and taking medicine. I feel like I had to. I had no choice. Not encouraging. Right? Guilt, shame, condemnation, anger, obligation. And the last one, the reasons that we kind of do social justice sometimes and not the reason that Jesus did it. We do it so that people can praise us. We do it so that people can say, you did a good job. We volunteer and serve on our own terms. I don't want to give money. I would rather serve. The reality is you bought 6 bottles of water for $1.50 or $2.99 at a bodega on the corner. The truth is, you give me that $2, that $3, that $1.50, I can buy 75 clean water tablets that will purify 25 gallons of water. But you would rather feel like you did something than give the money that you have so that we can actually bless some people. What would it look like for us to sacrifice, not out of fear, not out of guilt, not out of obligation, not out of shame, not out of anger, and not because we wanted somebody to praise us, but because we loved? Jesus did that. Ultimate injustice being done to him. He has done absolutely nothing wrong. This is in all 4 Gospels. Jesus being arrested. If you have an NIV Bible, if you can't find the chapter, it says Jesus arrested. You can start reading. And this is what happened. There are 4 different accounts in the 4 Gospels. And one of them, it tells you that it was Peter. In the other one, it will say a follower of him rose up. But in all of them, it says soldiers came to capture Jesus. All of them, it says, Judas showed them where Jesus was. And a soldier came in. And Jesus said, what do you want? He said, we're looking for Jesus of Nazareth. And the soldier, before he can say anything, Peter grabs a sword, hits dude upside the head. I'm from the South. We hit people upside the head. It's about right here. All right? Now, what does it say Jesus did? It does